Hey everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God from Judas Priest, and you're listening to Cobras and Fire. Metal is not dead. Hello Jason, how are you?
I'm excellent, man. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to speak with you. Where are you at? What part of the country are you in?
I'm in St. Paul, Minnesota right now.
Ah, I know that part of the world really, really well.
You've been here a few times.
You must be getting those autumn tingles starting to happen.
You know, it's actually about 82 degrees today, but yeah, it's coming.
It's about to plummet because I'm a bit of a Weather Channel geek, and I know it's going to plummet in the next 2 or 3 days.
But, you watch a lot of Weather Channel?
I'm just a weather person. But I remember the last time I was in St. Paul, and I started to go from my hotel to a restaurant around the corner, and I give them those U-turns. I came out to the hotel. The wind was the coldest wind on the planet. I did a U-turn and went back into my hotel and ordered room service. I don't know how you guys cope when that frigid Arctic blast comes roaring down from the North Pole.
It sucks, Rob. It's not any fun.
But I tell you, I swapped that for the Phoenix Sea. We've had one of the hottest weather patterns in the history of Arizona. We had like 52 consecutive days of over 110 degrees a day. So we've been beaten up big time, you know. But you know, hey, it's all good, as they say. It's all good. And heavy metal has always been roasting hot anyway, so it's not that much of a stretch.
Sure. I actually summered in Arizona for most of the 80s because of my parents' divorce. So I'm familiar with the hot summers down there, but I think this year was a little bit of a record breaker, and that's what you're saying.
Yeah, well, don't get me started on climate change and the deniers, because it's definitely happening. But anyway, let's go back to our great chat today, which is all about this tome, Confess.
Well, let me introduce my guest then. I am absolutely thrilled to be talking to today's guest. He has a new book coming out it's titled Confess. It comes out September 29th, so actually if you're listening to it, it's already out. And I am so pleased to be speaking to the Metal God, Rob Halford. Rob, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for those kind words. Hi, everybody. I'm looking forward to this chat and confessing.
Well, I'm one of about 500,000 people that follow you on Instagram. So before we get into the book, just real quick, you have a lot of cat T-shirts.
Hey, again, I have all cat T-shirts. Yeah. All the cat T-shirts. I'm kind of painted myself into the proverbial corner. The gate bell ring. Well, the gate bell rings, and Thomas Overhalf goes, oh, God, it's another cat T-shirt. How many more cat T-shirts do you need? I think I have about 100 cat T-shirts now. I used to have a beautiful kitty cat called Ben, who lived a long life and then suddenly passed, like they all do. It's like losing a family member. And then it was kind of difficult, you know, because I'm on the road all the time. There's nobody here at the house. And as much as it's great fun sometimes for the cats to go into kitty jail, kitty vacation, my cat never liked that very much. So I'm kind of making up for that with my cat T-shirts every Saturday on my Instagram, Rob Halford Legacy, which is a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how long that's going to go on for, Jason. I think they'll run out of cat shirts by the time we get to a certain point.
Well, yeah, it is a lot of fun to see. Do you have a theory? You're a wise man. A lot of metal guys really like cats. Do you have a theory to that at all?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's very true. And I only really started to figure that out until I saw things about, like, books that are photographs of metal musicians, particularly with their cats. And you get all these really ferociously strong guys, you know, and they've got the cat. Well, this is the power of pets, isn't it? It's pet power. Pet power. That's for everybody, from all walks of life, like heavy metal music is. But it's great, you know. There's a fun thread on Reddit about dads that hate cats, and then somebody brings a cat into the house, and then the cat sits on dad's lap, and then the dad suddenly melts. You know, they're beautiful creatures. I think the reason why we like them in our metal community is because they're fiercely independent. You can't really You know, you think you know your cat, but your cat knows you better than you do. And they're so full of character and, you know, knocking things off the shelf and looking at you as if to say, you know, look what I can do.
Pick it up.
But I love them for that reason and a lot of other reasons alone. They're beautiful creatures.
Yeah, I hammered through about 2/3 of the book last night. One of my marathon reading sessions of all time, to be honest with you. There was something that I swear I read, but I couldn't find it in the book. But I understand you developed a bit of an online shopping addiction with the pandemic. Did I read that somewhere?
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right, Jason. Yeah. I don't think I'm alone in that.
No.
Mr. Bezos has added a few billions to his bank account. But, and it's amazing. I could talk forever about the way that we've transitioned from having to go to a store and looking and feeling and trying on to just, I'll take that one click and it's in your home like a day or two later. Yeah, here's the deal. This pandemic is driving us nuts, right?
Yeah.
So we're all trying to find ways to pass an hour here, there, and the other. And there's always a time in the day, usually when I'm in bed and I can't sleep because of my insomnia, that I do not go on to online shopping at 2 or 3 in the morning because you end up ordering stuff. What the hell is that? What does that do? You know, oh, it's a bird feeder. Oh, okay, right.
Okay.
So it's crazy, but I do like the online shopping. Yeah, it's kind of addictive.
What kind of stuff would I find in the Metal God's shopping cart?
Oh, okay. Well, besides the cat T-shirts, let me think. All right, now some things are sensible. I just ordered the new Ken Follett book. Who's doing the prequel to Colours of the Earth, so that was a sensible purchase.
Nice.
Rings. I get a lot of rings online. A lot of rings that you know, guy jewelry, macho guy jewelry. I get a lot of that online. I've so many rings, it's ridiculous. So stuff like that. It's all over the place.
Right on. Well, thanks for indulging me on that, and I'm sure the listeners will get a big kick out of that. Getting to the book, though, throughout the book, you detail the largely internal struggle that you went through as a gay man from your childhood to your time in Judas Priest, basically up until you came out. Was it hard to relive some of that, like going back and writing this, or was it almost cathartic?
Yeah, I've been reflecting on this in the past few days because I've been talking about the book, and there are some elements that are really difficult. You know, it's like bringing back trauma. I have to do it because the best thing to do when you're dealing with these kind of things in your life, you've got to talk it out. You can't bottle it up. You've got to talk it out. You've got to speak about it again and again and again until you find some kind of balance and peace, which I have found. But then I'm having to go and dig it back up again, you know? So there were elements of the book that were difficult, particularly when I did the audio, because it's one thing to read a book and it's another to actually speak the words out because they're coming from your body, you know, your voice. And my voice is everything to me. So to hear my voice and speak out these words, and especially to listen to the playback, it did get rather tough when we went to those parts in my life that were challenging.
Sure. Man, that's a really great point. Anytime I read a book, I'm a big fan of rock biographies, but when I'm as familiar with the artist as you, like I know what your voice sounds like, I literally read it in that person's voice, you know? So I was listening to you speak all day yesterday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think that's the value of an author, books about the Memorabilia autobiography. If you can get that person's voice attached to the words, it just becomes more intimate and more personal, especially in the place that you listen to it. You know, primarily in the comfort of your own home, with your own headphones, or just sitting back in a chair or lying in bed. This is the most incredible way that we communicate with my voice, because emotion is in your voice, and you know that's coming through very strongly on the audiobook of Confess.
There was one of the things. There are so many parts of the book that kind of gave me a little bit of a pause, but one of them. I don't know. Maybe it has a lot to do with what's going on right now and some of the discord that's happening. But you discuss being approached by some of the, I don't know, I'll call them handlers. I can't remember specifically who it was, that in the priest camp, like your management and stuff like that, about some of your, we'll just call them activities, possibly being bad for the band if it got out into the press. And it's almost like you're being told who you are as a human being is wrong. That had to be. I mean, I can't imagine, I mean, I don't know that I would have felt the same way. I get it. I know what they're saying. They probably don't mean it that way, but that's what you're basically telling a person who's gay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was a massive intrusion. It was just, I knew what the principal ideas of that were all about, but I felt that in my perspective, I wasn't doing anything that was going to create a ripple effect throughout the band, because Judas Priest has been my life and always will be my life, and I would never do anything to harm Priest. Don't get me started about, well, you left the band, dude. That's a whole different thing altogether. The actual suggestion that that I watch my step and don't go to this bar or that bar or wear this T-shirt or that T-shirt. All of these things were put to me in a way that just made me, kind of knee-jerk back. I mean, again, it's just, you can't do. Don't tell me how to live my life,
Right.
But that's how it was back then. I understand. I totally get it. I understand, looking back, what the purpose of that slight intervention was about. But that's where we were at in those days,
Mm-hmm.
What would have happened as we were breaking through and then suddenly word got out that the lead singer of Judas Priest is a gay guy? What damage could it have made? Of course, as it turned out, when I came out to MTV in the 90s, when I was away from the band, nobody really cared. Nobody cared. So many people knew, nobody cared. They probably just wanted to sing, and we loved the shows and get back to Priest, all that kind of stuff. I'd surrounded myself by these crazy kind of mind games in my own head that if the world found out that this lead singer from this great heavy metal band who called himself the Metal God is gay, everything would collapse like a house of cards. And of course it didn't, and it won't for any musician that wants to step forward and proclaim the sexuality if they feel the need to. So there you go.
If it helps you or any of the listeners, my parents were very much the same way about letting other people know that I was a fan of Kiss.
Yes, okay. Now, listen, Jason, that's perfectly legit because somebody Snapchatted me a little video the other day, and I won't go into detail, but this person, this girl who was from this gay guy that I know, was saying that she was in a very strict religious upbringing in the household, and when her parents found out that she was listening to Judas Priest, it was as though she was worshipping Satan. Yeah. Created a huge ruckus in the family, and I dare say it might be the case today in a different sense. This is the battle that you have, particularly as a young person with your parents, when you're trying to find the music that you identify with, that you possess and claim as your own.
I'm kind of embarrassed for the adults in my life that warned me of Satan in the music and stuff, because as I grew up, I could see why I believed it as a kid, but I'm an adult now, and it turns out that you can't accidentally worship the devil. You know what I mean? So it seems so ridiculous that these people were raising us at times.
Yeah, and I'm sure parents love their kids and in a parent's point of view, they're feeling that what they need to say and do is to protect their children. And that was because for a certain time heavy metal was hijacked by certain groups of people who put it onto this evil pedestal, and it filtered through and it hit people and got into the family life cycle and just created a lot of problems, created more problems than if they'd just shut the hell up and let the kids get on with the music that they love.
Right. Well, and for a lot of people, that's their one thing that kind of helps a little bit of their mental sanity too.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, on that note, being a musician of your level, you've probably routinely heard throughout your career how your music has changed somebody or helped them during a difficult time. I have to believe that when you came out officially, that grew tenfold, where all of a sudden you were now hitting this different group of people that also have a similar type of struggle, only a sense of that it's internal or something like that, that you've actually in many ways just been there for people that you probably never met.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that until I came out, and I got all these beautiful letters, and people were telling me about these various messages and so forth. And even now, I meet fans. Grown up fans. What I mean by grown up is like some people from my own generation give me a hug and they go, "Thank you for helping me come out of the closet." What? Yeah, you did. I did. Yeah, you did. Oh, thank you. You have no idea of the reach of something like this, and that's just the power of that moment when you're in the public eye and your music is leading you, and it's solace to a lot of us. Well, music helps us through all kinds of different circumstances. But yeah, that was just great. That was just a beautiful thing to happen.
Moving on a little bit into the book, you moved to Phoenix around 1980. I mentioned before we got started here that I had spent quite a few summers out there, so I actually heard some mythic tales about Rob Halford's existence out there. I was aware that you lived out there. Somewhere along the line, someone told me you were gay, because when you did come out in the late 90s, I was like, what are you talking about? I thought it was common knowledge is all. I had to be there. But one of them was that you mentioned a club called Rockers in your book quite a bit. I had heard back in the day, and I'm a teenager, a little nub being pushed around here, that you owned the club. It doesn't sound like that was true.
No, it wasn't true. It was a great club owned by a couple of crazy brothers that were just like real characters. It was a massive club out on the west side of Phoenix. And it was my home, Mm-hmm. It was my home from home. I'd drive there in my little red Corvette, and the picture would be waiting for me on the table in my booth. And like an idiot, I would drive home drunk most nights. That soon got put into place, and I was pulled over by the cops and spent the night in jail, which I talk about in the book quite strongly. For God's sake, don't drink and drive. It's so stupid. But yeah, Rockers was a great club, and the sad thing about it was I was so drunk most of the times. I can't remember the band, but they used to have. They had all kinds of bands there. Not mostly rock bands, but all kinds of bands. It was a great venue. But I don't know what the guys are doing now. I don't know whether they're still in town or moved on. But yeah, a great venue, Rockers. There's very few of those places left in the valley, to the best of my knowledge now. And now, of course, this hideous pandemic has just shut the whole live experience down for all forms of music, and so many people are in difficulties, and it's terrible. That's why we need to get this vaccine sorted as safely as quickly as we can.
Yeah, what size venue was it? I was too young to go. Was it about 500 people? How big would you even know?
It might have been one of those things where it was bigger than it seemed, but it was a pretty big venue. You could get a couple hundred people in and change, and still have some room. Yeah, it was a big, kind of a converted warehouse kind of big box store, as I can recall. Yeah.
Now, was it, if I got my notes right, British Steel was the record you recorded in John Lennon's house?
Yeah, when we made that record, Ringo had bought the home from John Lennon, but originally it was John Lennon's house, yeah.
And you find, I love the story about the bathroom where there's two toilets right next to each other, and one says John, one says Yoko. Now, Rob, I'm a happily married man, and I can say that time apart is just as important as time together. That toilet image of John and Yoko, that seems like time apart, time.
Oh my God, that's love. That's unconditional love there.
No shit.
You're both using the bathroom together. They
holding
were
hands.
The most, yeah, they were the most remarkable couple ever. It's so much good for the world with their constant preaching for world peace.
Yeah.
Lennon has always been a massive person for me in terms of inspiration, not only his music, but what he stood for and the way, projecting what he stood for in that great way.
Absolutely. Are you worried at all that Yoko's going to be coming for the Obelisk that you took from the house?
I've loaned it. It's on the loan. I've recently been signed because of the book. Yoko, if you want your Obelisk back, just let me know. It's in safe hands, perfectly safe. It might have ended up in a dumpster. You know what it is when you sell a house, and sometimes people leave a lot of stuff there. Could have ended up in a dumpster, but it ended up in a safe place in my care.
Do you have a lot of Judas Priest memorabilia?
Oddly enough, no, I don't really. No, I don't. We kept a lot of the clothes. Got a lot of the clothes. There's a very famous picture on the back of the Stabbings of Destiny where I'm wearing this kind of black, medieval kind of velvet thing that's trimmed in gold. I've still got that.
Nice.
It doesn't fit me anymore. It fits around my thigh. It doesn't fit me around your chest and waist because, once guys hit their 30s, our bodies tend to go off on their own journey, don't they? No matter what we eat, try to control it. So I'm a fat globule and I'm moving in.
All right. Do you recall the Metallian mask that you were, I don't know, I saw an MTV interview during the Defenders tour that you kind of had one, and I would love to get my hands on one of those.
Oh, we did have a mask made for the Epitaph tour, I think it was. There's this creature that's on this person image figure that's wearing this kind of a mask, and I actually had that made. And we've got that in storage. We've got a lot of Priest stuff in storage. I haven't been there forever. I need to go and have a mooch through there sometime. But there is that one mask. That's a cool idea you've given me, Jason.
No, right on.
Every year there's these like Halloween masks. It'd be cool to have like the Screaming to Vengeance Eagle mask or the Defenders of the Faith monster mask. Yeah, I might steal that idea, Jason. Sorry, I'll send you a residual.
If you just send me one mask, we'll call it even.
Okay.
Well, you go into great detail about your substance abuse in the book, but if I got everything right, and again I kind of had to breeze through this, but it sounds like one trip to treatment did it for you.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed the back end of that question. Just say it again.
With all the struggles that you with substance abuse that you detail in the book, it sounds like your first trip to treatment worked. Was it just the one time, no relapse after that?
Oh yeah.
That's amazing.
I've talked about this with Alice, my neighbour. Alice did the same thing. Once he quit, that was it. He never relapsed, and it's just and some of us don't, and some of us do. It's still one day at a time.
Sure.
I'd love a cold beer right now. I'd love a shot of Jack Daniels right now because I know I can just taste it. That's the disease of alcoholism. So. Yeah, I've got somebody watching over me because I was in rehab for 30 days. 30 days is a lot for you. Cleans you up and get the right tools and ideas from the people that look after you. And I've said so many times, I never want to wake up and be sick and tired of being sick and tired again. Because that's how it was affecting me. It was really affecting me not only as a person. But feeling like shit, looking like shit. But as a musician, it just brought tremendous clarity to my work, and I don't know how I got that far, because ever since I became sober, I just feel my work has become better, more focused, more defined. I know what I'm doing now.
Mm-hmm. One of the biggest revelations in the book has to be that you didn't actually intend to quit Judas Priest. It was just that the wording of a fax you sent was misinterpreted, and then both sides, you and the band, kind of knuckled down and then just kind of went with it. That was surprising that you couldn't just actually come together and say, whoa, no, hey, well, I just want a little bit of time apart, that's all.
Yeah, it was a classic communication breakdown. I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the book that around the Turbo years, and I was still in that. Or it might have been after I was clean and sober and we were on the Turbo tour that I said to the guys, I've really got this urge to just do something away from Priest. And the feeling was, well, yeah, because, maybe one or two of us might want to do the same thing. So that was always there. That was there like from 86 onwards. But by the time we finished that Painkiller tour, on the back of that horrible Reno trial and the loss of those two beautiful boys that were massive Priest fans, but they themselves were wrapped up in booze and drugs and dysfunctionality of the family and so forth. That and then this massive Painkiller tour, and this band had been slugging away for non-stop for over 20 years without hardly a break. What we should have done was at the end of the Painkiller tour, we say, taking a couple of years off, maybe 3 years off, I'll see you later,
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't do that. And things just came to a grinding, crushing climax to me at the end of the Painkiller tour. I just felt that I had to get away, and so I thought, well, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it with some music and explain that's the reason why I want to do this. But then, because of my business circumstances at the time and a lot of other issues, everything just fell apart. Bands are like families, and families have fights, and sometimes you don't see each other for a period of time, and that's exactly what happened for me. Could things have been done differently? Could things have been done better? Hindsight is great. I think it's very important to reflect on your past circumstances and utilise them so that incidents don't happen again and again. But what it did let me do, Jason, as I've said many times, is it let me get a lot of things out of my system.
Mm-hmm.
I love being away and doing, 5 and 2.5 a done, but I understood that my heart and soul and spirit is purely best displayed within my work in Judas Priest, and always will be.
Right on. Well, Rob, this has been a pleasure. Like I said, I managed to hammer through the book last night, and you come off sincere. I think your story is not just interesting, but it's actually going to help a lot of people. And from a little quick personal story, I got my first Judas Priest cassette in Christmas 1985. There was a blizzard the next morning, and I had a paper route to do. So Defenders of the Faith will always be a snowy album to me.
That's great. Oh, my God. Isn't that amazing? What a great story, man. That's just cool. That's so cool. That's the power of metal right there.
Yeah.
The power of metal will get you through every blizzard, and your paper will be delivered.
I didn't even think about it that way. But hey, for me personally, thank you for everything. I'm not just talking about this interview. I appreciate your time, but you've been there, especially as a teenager when we're all dealing with gunk. You were among those artists that I leaned on during the dark time, so I appreciate it, Rob.
That's some great words. They mean a lot to me. All the best, Jason. Stay safe. I will see you in 2021.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
It's all right.